Okay, solve the equation, test review. You will need this packet, obviously, and then your equation solving little cheat sheet. It's not purple, but x second x. If you have x only, x second only. Okay, so we are solving this equation, 3x to the second power minus 15x equals 0. The first thing you need to do is list what you have for x's. You have x second and you have x. Please do that. So x second and x, well, that's factoring properties. Okay, so in factoring properties, you just list your solution set down in the corner. That's your highest exponent, okay? Highest exponent's a 2, so there would be 2 answers for x equals. You see that you're equal to 0, and you are. You can check it. If you're not, you're going to have to move some things out of there, but this one was, okay? So, now, we have 2 terms. So it's GCF DOPS. And DOPS, of course, stands for difference of perfect squares. So, last slot, does it have x? Yes, it does. They both have x. We take the x from the end. Does the front slot have a negative? It doesn't matter if the negative's there. It's all about the front. No, it does not. So no negative. 3 and 15. Well, here's 3 for the first time when I'm going up, and there's 15 with it, so it'd be in row 3. So we are factoring out the expression 3x. So then you go up and divide by 3x. So that would be 1. Now since we're putting an x underneath, we need to divide the x second, which is x times itself, by x. Now I would get a remainder of x. Negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. Now you divide your x by your x, which results in a complete wipeout of x. Okay, now you bring your GCF over, out, out. Now you're looking at 1x minus 5 for the DOPS. Positive and negative, which is what a DOPS is supposed to be. That's good. Remember, the perfect squares are here. So here's 1. That's 1 times 1. That's all great, but x isn't to the second power, so it's not x times x. So no. Cross it off, and you bring the parentheses of 1x minus 5 over. So F1, F2. So 3x could equal 0, 1x minus 5 equals 0. Divided by 3, 0 divided by 3 is 0. Okay. Times 1, you ditch your 1, you don't need that. If it's a 1, if it's a 2 times 2, you got to divide by 2, but dividing by 1 is kind of dumb. It doesn't really change an equation. 5 divided by 1 would still be 5. Okay. Okay, next problem. X to the second power minus 6x minus 16 equals 0. So, you have x second and you have x. You are applying your factoring properties. Okay, so you make your solution set. Okay, list your solution set according to the highest exponent, which is a 2. Same as it was in the last problem. Equals 0, you're there. Check it. Now, there are 3 terms, okay? So this is GCF and then the T table. Remember, you got to know what A equals. Okay, I do not have x on the end. I do not have the negative in the front. 1, 6, and 16. Guys, if 1's the smallest number, it's only going to be 1, so just don't do that. It's 1, you get to cross it out, and then the ABC comes from here. So 1 times negative 16 is negative 16. So that is a mismatch. So that means positive, negative. That's what a mismatch means. One of each. Adding equals negative 6. Okay. So you got 116. 1 plus negative 16 is negative 15. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 2 plus negative 8 is negative 6. Okay. There it is. So we have found the mystery numbers. Now you gotta know what A equals. That's the x. Here's my A. It's 1x to the second. So we know that's going to be x times x. Now put in your parentheses. Put in your positive 2, your negative 8, and then xx, and then 1 and 1. Okay, now you divide. 1 and 2. So here's 1 and 2, both in 1's row. 1 and 8, they're together in the first row again. So really you're just dividing by 1 in both places. So 1x plus 2 and 1x minus 8. So delete that and this. So you set those parentheses over here. 1x plus 2 times 1x minus 8. Okay, so 1x plus 2 equals 0, 1x minus 8 equals 0. Okay. If your dot number's a 1, get rid of it. Minus 2, you get negative 2. Plus 8, you get 8. You don't need to do the 1 there. So x would equal 8. Negative 2 and 8. Okay, number 3. You have x, and you have x again. Don't write that again. You've already wrote that. So really it's just x only. Well, x only isn't factoring, okay? X only is applying linear properties. Okay, list your solution set. Well, since x don't have a power, it's to the first power, so there's one answer. Okay, collect the x's into 1. They're on opposite sides, so you take out the smaller one. So it's going to give us 2x minus 4 equals positive 6. Okay, now you solve. Okay, got times 2 minus 4. So plus 4 gets rid of the minus 4. And then 10, so then you divide by 2 and you get 5. It's simple. All there is to linear properties. Okay. X second only is very similar. You just have to square root because the x will be to the second power. Okay. 5x to the second power minus 2x minus 7 equals 0. So we have x to the second. Not only that, we have x. So we're back to x second x. Factoring properties. List your solution set. Here I'll write what I'm using, the name of the properties I'm using, the name of the rules. So there's 2 answers because the x second's your highest. Equals 0, we have it. How many terms you got? You got 3. Okay. So that is GCF table. So I do not have the x, I do not have the negative. X isn't common to all of them. Okay, for it to be a common factor, it'd have to be common to every one of them, and there's not. We got this one at the end without the x, so you don't put that. 5, 2, and 7, so just be 1. Then don't get out of there with that. So I find my AC product. 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. So it is a negative product. So the only way to get a negative product is if the signs mismatch. Positive, negative. And you have to add to what your B is, which is negative 2. So 35 divided by 1 is 35. Add those, that's negative 34. 35 divided by 2, decimal. 35 divided by 3, decimal. 35 divided by 4, decimal. 35 divided by 5 is 7. Negative 2. Okay, you got to list your A before you make your print. You put your parentheses, but before you start putting the crap in, you got to know what your A is. 5x to the second power. Okay. So x seconds always x times x. But we will be putting a 5 in front of the x's, and then I go simplify it. I do not need the multiplication table for this. They're the same numbers, so you divide by 5. Okay, 5 and 7. 5 and 7 are together in the first row. That's it. Okay, so it's going to become 1x plus 1. And that's divided by 1 just keeps it the same. So this ABC has been converted into this. Now again, the numbers in front of the x's, 1 times 5, that should multiply to what the A is, the x second coefficient. 1 times negative 7 after the x's should multiply to the last term. They do. So I put in those parentheses, 1x plus 1 times 5x minus 7. F1, F2. So 1x plus 1 equals 0, 5x minus 7 equals 0. So you don't need the dot 1, just minus 1, and that would be negative 1. You need to plus 7, 0 plus 7, 7. Then you divide by 5, 7 divided by 5 is 1.4. Okay, 4x to the second power minus 36 equals 0. So you have x second, nothing else. Okay, there's no x, so it's x second only. So an only is not factoring. Linear properties, square root. Okay. So that's what we do. Linear properties, square root at the end because we have to get rid of the second power. Now you list your solution set. X is to the second right there. So there are 2 answers. You collect the x seconds into 1, already have it. There's only 1. Wall. And solve it. You add 36. Just adding and dividing. So 4.x to the second equals 36. So you are just dividing by 4. Okay. So x to the second power equals 9. Now you do a square root at the end. So x could be positive or negative anytime I find the square root of a number. So number times self, that's 9. It'd be 3, but it could also be negative 3. Okay, 3 and negative 3. So essentially, this is the same thing as this. You just got to do that square root operation at the end. Okay. A paper airplane is launched off the balcony from a height of 20 feet with a velocity of 76 feet per second. After how many seconds will it land on the ground? So you have feet and seconds. Seconds is x, feet is y. So per feet per second. Okay, the feet per second rate is 76. 76 times x. Now the paper airplane is going to go up. It's going to come down, pulled by the force of gravity, and you need to know that gravity is negative 16x to the second. Okay? So no table. Up, down. So before the 76, you have 20 feet. Then there's nothing after it, so that would be 0 feet. Now you need to make this box kind of big because you have a lot of work to kind of set up. So you got x to the second, x constant equals y. Negative 16 followed by 76. Then the 20 goes in the constant space, so you can't take that out. 0 feet replaces the y. We do need the 0. We do need something on that side. If it's 0, that's good. Now it's not a story problem, okay? So you have x to the second, and you have x. So guess what? Not only you're using the factoring properties. Okay, factoring properties. How about you go through the list? List your solution set. It's not hard to do. It's the highest power on the x. It's 2. Make sure you're equal to 0. You are. Check it. Okay? Now you can clearly see there's 3 terms. GCF table. Now, do you have x on all 3 terms? No, you're missing an x there, so you can't put it there. You do have the negative in the first slot, so a negative comes out here. Remember, this slot, this number here determines whether we need a negative. 16, 76, and 20. So there's 16, I don't see, no. Then 16, no. 16, 20, 76, they're in 4's row. Or you can simply go punch in the 3 numbers you're looking for. 16, comma 76, comma 20, just all 3 of them. And it flat out says it's 4, okay? So they're all in the row, 4th row, but it's negative 4 without an x. So you divide by negative 4. So that's 4. Does that look like you're putting x under there? No, you're not. So you keep it x to the second. 76 divided by negative 4 is negative 19. Does that look like you're putting x there? No. So you keep the x on the quotient. And then negative 5. Now, you bring over that, before you go to the t table, you bring over your GCF. Now, out, and then ABC is this now. Okay, with the A, the x second being 4. Okay, so 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. So that's a mismatch. Positive, negative. It's got to add to the B, which is negative 19. 20 divided by 1 is 20, and if you add those, that's negative 19. Booyah, right on the mark. Now you put in your parentheses, hopefully you wrote that. A is 4x second, you're going to need it. Positive 1, negative 20. Now x second is x times x, okay? Then you put the 4 in front of the x's. 4 and 1 are together in row 1, so we divide by 1 here. 4 and 20. Here's 4, here's 20, it would be in 4's row. Now they're also in 2's row, but I told you to look bottom up. 4 and 20 are in the maximum row is 4. So that's just 4x plus 1, that just stays, and that's 1x minus 5. So you bring those over here. Now get that, this doesn't have x, it's useless, okay? Okay, so 4x plus 1 equals 0, 1x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, get rid of your plus 1 with minus 1, so that's negative 1. That's negative 0.25. If you like diffractions, just second PRB it once you get it. Now drop the stupid multiplier to 1. You don't need that. You just add 5 and x equals 5. So you bring the 5 over here and there's your seconds. Okay, done. Now the next page. A startled armadillo jumps straight into the air with an initial velocity of 14 feet per second. After how many seconds does it land on the ground? Okay, same thing, feet and seconds. Seconds is x, feet is y. Then per, feet per second. It's 14 times x. So again, what drives that? Up, down, by the force of gravity. That's negative 16x second. So before the 14, you don't got anything. You're putting 0 feet. You don't have anything after it. That's 0 feet too. Okay, so x second, then x, then the constant equals y. So, negative 16 and 14 occupy the first 2 slots. You have 0. Put flipping 0 there and then delete it. You don't need it if it's 0. So that's 2 slots. You got to put that in for y. Alright, so what do we have? We have x second and we have x. Again, x second and x is factoring properties. Okay, so list your solution set down in the corner. Highest exponent's 2, so that'd be 2 answers. Make sure you're at 0, you are, check it off, and that's 2 terms, so that's GCF DOPS. Okay, now you have 2 slots, they both have x, you take the x from the last slot. You have negative in the front slot, 16 and 14. Well, they're not in here's 14, but 16 ain't there. 14, 16 ain't there. 14, 16, 2. Okay, so that whole expression, negative 2x, is what you put under here and divide by. So that's 8. And then you have you're putting an x underneath there, so you have to divide the x to the second by the x. So we have x remaining. 14 divided by negative 2 is negative 7. Now I divide x by x, and that's a complete cancellation. Okay, you don't have anything there. So you got to remember to bring, before you cross crap out, you got to bring in your negative 2x. Okay, now where am I at? That's out. That's out. I'm looking here. Positive, negative, but first off, 8. Does that look like 8's in that row? No, it doesn't, okay? So, that's a no. Either no, cross it out, and you just use the parentheses, 8x minus 7 equals 0. So, F1, F2. So, negative 2x could equal 0, 8x minus 7 could equal 0. So you divide by negative 2, 0 divided by negative 2 is 0. Okay. Then times 8 minus 7. So plus 7, 0 plus 7, 7. Now you divide by 8. You can't drop it if it's 8. And then 7 divided by 8 is 0.875. If you don't like that, just second PRB it, it'd be 7/8. Okay, there you go. Okay, now the last one. This one's a pain in the butt. A picture's 8 by 7 inches. I'm going to put a border around the outside. When I do, the combined area is going to be at 110 square inches. How wide should my border be? Inches. This is a shape problem, so I draw the shape. It's 8 by 7. Okay, building a border around the outside. Now, you're talking area. Okay, So you make this, what this should be, we got to do, line this up. This is where I'll be working. This will be what I'm doing off to the side. Okay, so I have to write my area equation. It's 2 parentheses multiplied length, width, and it equals your area. Or you can put A. Your area is given, it's 110, okay? Length, that's the top or the bottom. It doesn't matter where you go. So in the middle's 8, and then we have x on each side because we don't know how wide that is. That's the answer to the problem. So there's 2 x's plus an 8. So 2x, not x to the second, plus 8. Where'd you get the 2? Well, I got the 2 because there's 2 x's. Width, same thing. So you have 7, xx, 2x plus 7. Now, it's not a regular problem until you get that multiplied out using the FOIL method. You just take the 2x, distribute it to 2x and 7. Ditch that 2x, now you repeat the process with your 8. Now, you don't need to put 1s on exponents. You see 2 factors of x. X times itself is expressed as x to the second. Then the 2 times the 2 is 4. So you have this x here, only one of them. 2 times 7 is 14. Then x, 8 times 2 is 16. Then 56. Now slot that right here, not over there. So you have 4. Now you add your x's. 14 plus 16 is 30. And then you have 56. So you come over here, you drop your 110, then instead of this crap, you write 4x to the second plus 30x plus 56 equals 110. Now it's not a story problem anymore. It's just a normal equation, okay? So, looks to me like I have x second, and I've got x with it, okay? So x second and x, you're going to your factoring properties, unfortunately. I know it's easier with the only, but unfortunately that's not how the equation shakes out. So, factoring properties, list your solution set according to the highest power, x is to the second, so there's 2 answers. Now, equals 0, we don't have equals 0, okay? So you got to get rid of the 110. You can either put it under the 56 or you can hang it. It doesn't matter to me. So now you slot it, x second, x constant equals 0. So 4 is your x second, 30 is your x. Now you would combine those by adding, okay? Or you could just minus, okay? It doesn't matter, but 56, either go 56 plus negative 110, but if you put it underneath, it's 56 minus 110, which would be negative 54 in either way, okay? Now, 3 terms, GCF table. Okay, so there's no, we don't have x in every slot. See that one? There's no x, so don't put x. You can't do that. You can't divide from a number without an x. You can't divide by x if there's a number there without x. Well, you don't have the negative either. 4, 30, and 54. 4, no. Now the chart runs out, so you go to your GCF calculator. Okay, online, you just Google it, GCF calculator, click on the first link, and 4, 30, 54. So they're all in row 2 if the chart were bigger, okay? They're all even, so they're all eventually going to be in 2's row. Just 2, no negative, no x. So you divide them all by 2. So that's 2. You're not putting an x underneath, so that x remains to the second. Then 30 divided by 2 is 15. You're not putting x, so that x remains. Negative 54 divided by 2 is negative 27. Now, before you jump here, you got a lot of crap going on. You pull over your GCF, just put it there, out out, and this is where I'm at now, okay? With an A and X second of 2. So A times C, 2 times negative 27 is negative 54, okay? So that's a mismatch. Positive, negative. You are trying to add to your B, which is positive 15. Start dividing. 54 divided by 1 is 54. That adds to negative 53. That's not even close. 54 divided by 2 is 27. 2 plus negative 27 is negative 25. No. 54 divided by a 3 is 18. What do you think of that? I think we can stop dividing. We just need to make it into positive 15. The signs still need to mismatch. It'll just be positive here and negative here. Now if you take negative 3 plus 18, good to go. So you put in your parentheses, negative 3, put in the mystery numbers from the table. Gee, it's a good thing I wrote that down. I'd hate to get confused. So XX. Then you apply the 2 in front of it. This 2 is applied in front of the x's. So 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are in 1's row together, and that's it. But the 2 and 18 are in 2's row together. So that becomes 2x minus 3 stays, and that's going to be 1x plus 9. So again, this ABC has turned into this. This times this, 2 times 1 is 2, negative 3 times 9 is negative 27. Put those over here next to your GCF that you've already put out there. This is worthless, it doesn't have x. So F1, F2. So 2x minus 3 could equal 0, or 1x plus 9 could equal 0. So plus 3, that's 3. Divide each side by 2, and that's 1.5. If you don't like decimals, it's 1.5. Then over here you can drop the stupid 1. Minus 9, and 0 minus 9 is negative 9. 1.5 is the real answer, the positive one. 1.5 inches.